Hello, my fellow specters, and welcome back to my review series. Today, we take a look at the new Conjuring movie, The Conjuring Last Rites. So, The Conjuring Last Rites was directed by Michael Chavez, the same guy who directed the third movie. And once again, it follows the Warrens, Ed and Lorraine, played by Patrick Wilson and Vera Farmiga. This time, their daughter is older and she's about to marry her boyfriend/fiance. And to make matters even more complex, she's starting to inherit her mother's powers. And of course, there's a haunted house somewhere in the mix. Yeah, so there's a problem with this movie. Let's start with the positives. Ed and Lorraine Warren are still Ed and Lorraine Warren. The characters are still interesting, and they hold your attention for most of the movie. The new characters, the family that's being haunted, are also interesting at times. They're just not on screen a whole lot. Instead, we focus primarily on the daughter and her boyfriend. The daughter, because she's starting to struggle with the abilities she's inherited, and the boyfriend, because he wants to fit in with the family and get the approval of, well, Ed. So, that being said, as a result, there isn't as much of the haunting as I would like in this haunted house movie. Look, I get it. We're trying to establish the character of Judy as someone who is interesting, as in the previous movies, she was, well, the daughter character. And in this movie, she plays a much more deeper role, so establishing her as a character with 3 dimensions is important. We take way too long to do that, though. And instead, we should be focusing more on the haunted house and the family who's being tormented by this evil demon. That's where the story is. Instead, this film decides to focus on family drama. Exactly what I want in my Conjuring movie. Look, I get what you're trying to do. And Mia Tomlinson, who plays Judy Warren in the film, does a fantastic job. It's just so annoying that the film spends so much time on this. This movie could have been an hour and a half and focused more on the haunted house, and it would have been infinitely better. The bad thing about this is The Conjuring usually is better about this. Yes, I complained about the first movie being predictable, but it still split its time pretty evenly between the Warrens and the family that was being haunted, so we were invested in both groups of characters. The second movie did it much better. I'll get more into that when I review that movie. And the third movie isn't a haunted house movie, but it still tried to split between the Warrens and the other characters evenly, though a little less successfully than the first 2. And yeah, this movie follows the more of the trend of the third movie and constantly references the first movie without doing anything to establish itself as a more interesting predecessor. And this movie is supposed to be the end of the franchise. Yeah, I'll believe that when I see it. Look, I've established that I'm not the Conjuring universe's biggest fan. The haunted house movies have always been a little bit contrived. But the thing that's got me here is when this film is being a haunted house movie, it's actually pretty decent. The scares are well composed, I actually was kind of invested, and I really wanted to see where it was going. But when it was focusing on the family drama, I wanted to take a nap. At the end of the day, there is some good things here. The performances are still great, and Some of the visuals, when we're focusing on the scary stuff, are quite good. Yet, this film just does not know how to use its time wisely, and that is just frustrating. There's a good movie here, it's just there's not enough of it. Time management, folks, that's what makes a good movie, especially a horror movie. At the end of the day, I am going to give The Conjuring Last Rites a 5 out of 10. This film just didn't do enough. It's still not awful. I don't hate it. It just is frustrating. I recommend this one to anyone who wants to see a send-off to these versions of these characters, because I have no doubt that we'll get a reboot at some point in the future. But if you're trying to get a send-off to these versions of these characters, yeah, you're probably going to want to check this one out. But if you're hoping for a good Conjuring movie, well, there's the second one. I'm just saying, when I review that movie, you'll find out that I like that one. This one, I don't like. Anyway, as always, my friends, please stay terrified. I don't need to do the laugh. This movie was frustrating. See you next time.